Commander Vex'thor stood at the observation deck of the Centauri Empire's flagship, the Stellar Dominance, his 4 eyes fixed on the blue marble suspended in the vast darkness of space. His upper set of eyes narrowed in contempt, while the lower pair analyzed the tactical readouts streaming across his neural interface. The sight of Earth, this insignificant planet that had somehow resisted Centauri influence for 3 standard cycles, made his scaled skin ripple with irritation. "Status report," he commanded, his voice carrying the distinctive multi-tonal resonance that marked him as a member of the Empire's elite military caste. Lieutenant Commander Vex'thor approached with practiced precision, her metallic boots clicking against the polished obsidian floor. "The humans remain unaware of our presence, Commander. Our quantum shroud is functioning at optimal efficiency, and their primitive scanning technology cannot detect us at this range." Vex'thor allowed himself a small gesture of satisfaction, extending his ceremonial head crest to its full height. The humans, with their single pair of eyes and their fragile bodies, had proven surprisingly resilient. But they were still so far behind the Centauri Empire in terms of technological advancement, or so he believed. Their military installations he questioned, running a clawed hand over the holographic display that materialized before him. "Exactly where our intelligence suggested, Commander. Their strongest fortress, which they call Pentagon, continues to coordinate their global defense network. But they've made a critical error in their latest communication protocols." Vex'thor's upper right eye swiveled to focus on his subordinate. "Explain." "They've begun implementing what they believe to be an advanced encryption system. In reality, it's based on mathematical principles we mastered millennia ago. We can not only break their codes, we can insert our own messages without detection." A low, rumbling laugh escaped Vex'thor's throat resonance chamber. The sound would have sent chills down the spine of any human who heard it. How typical of their species. They stumble upon a fragment of real technology and think they've discovered something revolutionary. He moved closer to the viewport, his tall, elegant frame casting a long shadow across the command deck. The Stellar Dominance hung in high orbit, a predator poised to strike. Its crystalline hull absorbed all radar and light, making it invisible to Earth's defensive systems. "Their arrogance will be their undoing," Vex'thor declared. "They think themselves safe behind their walls of code and steel. They believe their secrets are protected. But soon, very soon, we will show them the true meaning of technological superiority." He paused, watching as the Terminator line crept across Earth's surface, plunging the North American continent into darkness. Somewhere down there, in one of their primitive military bases, was the key to everything he needed. And he had just the plan to acquire it. "Prepare my personal shuttle," he ordered, "and contact our operatives on the surface. It's time to spring our trap." As his crew rushed to comply with his commands, Vex'thor allowed himself to imagine the accolades that would come with this victory. The High Command would finally recognize his brilliance. The Empire would at last bring these upstart humans to heel. And he, Commander Vex'thor of the Third Fleet, would go down in history as the one who made it all possible. If only he knew how wrong he was. The holographic display aboard the Stellar Dominance flickered to life, projecting the image of a human male in military dress. "Lieutenant Alex Mason, United States Cyber Command." Vex'thor studied the image with predatory intensity, all 4 eyes focused on the target of his elaborate scheme. "This human," he announced to his assembled command staff, "holds the key to their entire defense network. Our intelligence suggests he's one of the architects behind their new quantum encryption protocols." His upper lips curled into what passed for a smile among his species. "More importantly, he's ambitious, prideful, and has a weakness for pushing boundaries." Lieutenant Commander Vex'thor manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up a detailed dossier. "Lieutenant Mason's psychological profile indicates a high probability of responding to technological challenges. He's repeatedly broken protocol to investigate anomalies in their defense systems." "Perfect," Vex'thor purred, the sound resonating through his secondary vocal chamber. "Show me the bait." The hologram shifted, displaying a complex piece of Centauri technology, a quantum manifold processor that would appear decades ahead of current human capabilities, yet just plausible enough to tempt a curious mind. "We've modified this processor to emit a very specific quantum signature," explained Chief Technical Officer Zarthos, his tentacular appendages gesturing at the device. "When the humans detect it, it will appear to be a breakthrough in their encryption research. The signature matches their theoretical models perfectly." Vex'thor nodded approvingly. and the trap itself. The hologram changed again, revealing a three-dimensional blueprint of an abandoned research facility in the Nevada desert. "We've prepared the site according to your specifications," Commander Vex'thor reported. "The quantum lure is in place, surrounded by enough legitimate human technology to make it seem like a black research site. The moment Lieutenant Mason begins interfacing with the processor, our quantum entanglement field will activate." And then Vex'thor continued, satisfaction evident in his multitonal voice. "We'll have direct access to his neural patterns, his memories, and most importantly, all of his knowledge about their encryption systems. The beauty of it is that he'll never even know he's been compromised." The assembled officers chittered in appreciation of the plan's elegance. It was a masterwork of deception, playing on both human technological limitations and their species' inherent curiosity. "What about their standard security protocols?" asked Zarthos, ever the cautious one. Vex'thor gestured dismissively with his primary manipulator appendage. "Already accounted for. We've manufactured a perfect trail of breadcrumbs leading to the facility. Everything from requisition orders to power consumption readings suggests it's a legitimate human installation that's simply been kept off the books. Mason's clearance level gives him authority to investigate, and his psychological profile suggests he'll do exactly that." He turned back to the viewport, watching Earth rotate slowly beneath them. The humans pride themselves on their ability to think outside conventional boundaries. They celebrate their tendency to question, to probe, to push limits. It's what makes them dangerous, but it's also what makes them predictable. "Timeline for implementation," Vex'thor inquired. "We begin now," Vex'thor declared. "Plant the digital trail. Let their monitoring systems detect the quantum signature. Within 72 Earth hours, Mason will find himself unable to resist investigating. And when he does, he let the sentence hang, savoring the moment." The command staff dispersed to their stations, each moving with the precise efficiency that had made the Centauri Empire the dominant force in 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Vex'thor remained at the viewport, imagining how this victory would be recorded in the Imperial archives. He had spent 3 cycles studying human behavior, learning their patterns, understanding their weaknesses. Now all that research would pay off. One human's curiosity would give him the key to their entire defense network. And the humans would never know what hit them until it was far too late. Soon, he murmured to himself. "Very soon." Lieutenant Commander Vex'thor's voice crackled through Vex'thor's neural interface. "Target has entered the facility perimeter, Commander. He's alone, exactly as predicted." Vex'thor watched through the facility's surveillance system as Lieutenant Alex Mason approached the entrance. The human moved with a confidence that bordered on reckless, or so it seemed to the commander's eyes. No hesitation, no signs of suspicion, just the eager stride of a technical officer who thought he'd stumbled upon something revolutionary. Primitive security systems detecting no additional human presence in the area, Chief Technical Officer Zarthos reported from his station aboard the Stellar Dominance. Mason's personal quantum signature matches his profile perfectly. Something in Zarthos's tone made Vex'thor's secondary heart skip a beat. "You sound uncertain, Chief Technical Officer." "It's probably nothing, Commander. Just the signature is too perfect. Like a template rather than a living scan." Vex'thor dismissed the concern with a flick of his head crest. "The humans don't have the technology to fake quantum signatures. Proceed as planned." Inside the facility, Mason had already bypassed the first layer of security exactly as they'd planned. The human's fingers flew across the antiquated keyboard, his expression showing the exact mix of concentration and excitement they'd hoped to see. "Quantum lure is radiating at specified frequencies," Vex'thor announced. "Target is approaching the primary server room." Vex'thor allowed himself to relax slightly. Everything was proceeding according to plan. Then he noticed something odd. Mason had paused at a junction, looking directly at one of the hidden surveillance nodes. For just a fraction of a second, Vex'thor could have sworn he saw the human smile. Commander Zarthos's voice held a new note of concern. "The quantum harmonics in the facility are showing unusual fluctuations." "Explain." I can't. It's as if the background quantum noise is somehow organized. But that's impossible with human technology." Mason had reached the server room. The door slid open with a satisfying hiss, revealing the quantum manifold processor in all its glory. The human approached it slowly, his hand reaching out toward the interface panel. Quantum entanglement field at full power, Vex'thor reported. Neural capture will begin the moment he initiates contact. Vex'thor leaned forward, all four eyes fixed on the display. This was the moment of triumph. The instant Mason touched that panel, his mind would be an open book. Mason's fingers made contact with the interface. The quantum field surged. Nothing happened. Report, Vex'thor barked. Quantum field is active, but there's no neural pattern to capture. Zarthos sounded bewildered. It's as if his mind isn't there. That's because it isn't. Mason spoke, his voice coming through clear and crisp on their own command channel. But thanks for confirming the field technology. We've been wondering how it worked. Vex'thor felt his scales ripple in shock. How are you on this channel? This is impossible. Impossible, Mason laughed, and the sound sent chills through Vex'thor's primary spine. You know what's impossible? The fact that you actually believed we wouldn't notice your quantum shroud technology, that we wouldn't track your surveillance of our encryption protocols, that we wouldn't see this trap coming from light years away. The human turned, looking directly into the surveillance node, and this time his smile was predatory. Did you really think you were the only ones who could play this game, Commander Vex'thor? Alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Not human alarms, Centauri emergency protocols. Commander Vex'thor's voice was tight with panic. We're detecting massive power surges throughout the facility. The quantum manifold processor, it's not ours. It's not even close to our technology. It's a better. Mason finished for her. So much better. And now that you've so kindly connected it to your systems, he pressed another button on the interface panel. Well, let's just say the real trap is just beginning. Vex'thor watched in horror as cascading failures began rippling through his ship's systems. Somehow, impossibly, the humans had not only anticipated his trap, they had turned it into a weapon against his own forces. But your quantum signature, he protested weakly. The psychological profile. All part of the play, Commander. You're not the only ones who can create convincing deceptions. The only difference is, we wanted you to think you were succeeding. Right up until this moment. Mason's image flickered, revealing him in full military dress, complete with insignia Vex'thor had never seen before. Welcome to the future, Commander. Humanity's future. Let me show you what real technological superiority looks like. The stellar dominance's bridge erupted into chaos as system after system began shutting down. Vex'thor watched helplessly as the quantum encryption protocols he'd thought unbreakable crumbled like sandcastles before a tide. Get him off our networks, he roared, his secondary vocal chamber distorting with stress. We can't, Zarthos reported, his tentacles dancing frantically across multiple control surfaces. The quantum entanglement we initiated? He's reversed it somehow. Every attempt to sever the connection just opens new pathways. Mason's voice echoed through their command channel, calm and almost amused. You know what your biggest mistake was, Commander? Assuming that just because we didn't show off our technology, we didn't have it. On the main display, new information began scrolling, detailed schematics of Centauri ships, weapons specifications, classified research projects. Their most closely guarded secrets laid bare. That's 3 centuries of military intelligence, Vex'thor whispered, her natural blue coloring fading to a sickly gray. How did you? Those encryption protocols you were so eager to crack, Mason interrupted. They weren't our real security measures. They were bait. Every time you broke our codes, every time you intercepted our transmissions, you were actually downloading quantum lock tracking markers into your own systems. Vex'thor's upper eyes widened in horror as understanding dawned. The entire defense network was a facade. Now you're getting it, Mason nodded approvingly. While you were congratulating yourselves on breaking our primitive codes, we were building a complete map of your entire command structure. Every ship, every base, every secret installation across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Around the bridge, displays began activating independently, showing feeds from across Centauri space. Vex'thor watched in mounting dread as hidden human vessels emerged from quantum shadows near critical Imperial installations. Vessels that made the stellar dominance look like a primitive shuttle. Impossible, Zarthos muttered, his scientific mind refusing to accept what he was seeing. The power requirements alone for this level of quantum manipulation would be Would be beyond anything you thought we were capable of. Mason finished. That was rather the point. Here's another interesting fact. We cracked your quantum shroud technology 2 years ago. Those centuries of intelligence you gathered about Earth, we fed you every bit of it. Lieutenant Commander Vex'thor backed away from her station as it began reconfiguring itself, displaying human military protocols and command structures that bore no resemblance to what their intelligence had suggested. Gone were the primitive chain of command hierarchies they'd studied. In their place was something far more sophisticated and fluid. Your quantum manifold processor, Vex'thor said slowly. It wasn't just a trap, it was a demonstration. Very good, Commander. You see, we needed you to think you were winning, needed your entire empire to believe in their technological superiority, because that convinced you to keep pushing, keep probing, keep gathering what you thought was intelligence about our weaknesses. The main screen shifted, showing a massive human fleet emerging from quantum space at strategic points throughout Centauri territory. Ships unlike anything their sensors had ever detected, operating on principles that defied imperial physics. What you're seeing, Mason continued, is just the tip of the iceberg. Those quantum signatures you detected, they weren't errors in our encryption. They were markers, allowing us to map every quantum frequency your empire uses for communication, right now. Human quantum AI systems are rewriting your entire network infrastructure. Vex'thor slumped in his command chair, all 4 eyes fixed on the displays as his mighty ship's systems fell one by one to human control. Around him, his crew watched in stunned silence as centuries of assumed superiority crumbled. But why, he finally managed to ask. If you had this capability all along, why wait? Mason's expression turned serious for the first time. Because we needed to understand you completely. Your technology, yes, but more importantly, your intentions. We needed to know if peaceful coexistence was possible. And now we know that your empire would never accept equals. You would only ever see other species as potential subjects or threats to be eliminated. So we let you spring your trap, Commander Vex'thor. We let you think you were the hunter, when all along. The lights on the bridge dimmed as primary power failed, emergency systems unable to compensate for the cascading failures in their quantum network. In the red emergency lighting, Vex'thor could see the fear on his crew's faces as they realized the true scope of their situation. Your entire invasion fleet, Mason said softly. All your carefully positioned ships and infiltrators, every agent and quantum tap you thought we didn't know about, they're all being systematically locked down as we speak. 3 centuries of Centauri military expansion ended not with a bang, but with a quantum whisper. Through the viewport, Vex'thor watched as new stars seemed to bloom in space, human ships dropping their quantum shrouds, revealing an armada that dwarfed anything the Empire had ever assembled. And on every screen, on every channel, through every quantum frequency they'd thought secure, the same message began repeating. Attention, Centauri Empire. This is the United Earth Defense Force. Your systems have been compromised. Your fleets are disabled. Your time of unchallenged expansion is over. The stellar dominance hung powerless in Earth orbit, its once mighty systems now under complete human control. Commander Vex'thor watched as Lieutenant Mason's image expanded on the main bridge display, the human's confident smile a stark contrast to the fear permeating the Centauri crew. Would you like to know what fascinates me most about your species? Commander Mason asked, his voice carrying through every speaker on the ship. It's not your technology, impressive as you think it is. It's your absolute certainty that you're always the smartest beings in the room. New holographic displays sprang to life around the bridge, showing scenes that made Vex'thor's scales crawl with dread. Every single Centauri infiltration unit on Earth was being systematically surrounded and contained. Their quantum-shrouded observation posts, hidden in plain sight for years, were being deactivated one by one. 3 years ago. Mason continued, when we detected your first quantum probes, we had a choice to make. We could have revealed our true capabilities then, driven you back to your territory. But our analysts suggested something interesting. Your empire only respects strength proven through superior cunning. Are those, still frantically working at his station, suddenly froze. Commander, I'm detecting quantum signal cascades throughout our entire fleet. They're activating some kind of dormant protocol in our systems. Ah, yes, Mason nodded. Let me explain that. Every time you thought you were analyzing our technology, you were actually installing our quantum virus architecture into your own systems. Those encryption protocols you so easily broke? Each one carried a piece of our control system, disguised as random data corruption. Vex'thor slumped deeper into his command chair as the magnitude of his failure became clear. You used our own arrogance against us. Precisely. You were so convinced of your technological superiority that you never considered we might be generations ahead of you. Those primitive defense satellites you've been monitoring? Decoys. The military bases you've mapped? Mostly empty shells hiding our real installations. On the screens, more human ships emerged from quantum concealment, each one displaying capabilities that should have been impossible by Centauri understanding of physics. They moved through space in ways that defied Imperial sensor analysis, their quantum signatures constantly shifting and evolving. Your entire strategy, Mason explained, was based on the assumption that we would react exactly as every other species you've conquered. Rely on obvious defenses, stick to predictable technologies, follow established patterns of warfare. Instead, we studied you. We learned how you think. And then we built our trap around your expectations. Lieutenant Commander Raxville's voice shook as she reported, "We're detecting quantum entanglement signatures from their ships unlike anything in our records. They're not just controlling our systems, they're rewriting our base code in real time." Did you really think, Mason asked, that a species capable of reaching the stars would be limited to the kind of basic encryption you found? That we wouldn't have quantum computing far beyond your understanding? The truth is, Commander, we could have stopped you at any time. But we needed to know everything: your capabilities, your protocols, your contingency plans. Vex'thor watched helplessly as status reports flooded in from across Centauri space. Every hidden base, every secret installation, every emergency fallback position, all of them were already under human control or surrounded by human forces that had been lying in wait. The quantum manifold processor in that facility wasn't just a trap, Mason revealed. It was a key, unlocking all the backdoors we've spent years planting in your systems. Right now, quantum AI systems are dismantling your entire military infrastructure. Ships, weapons, communications, everything you thought was secure is being systematically locked down. How, Vex'thor whispered. How did we not see this coming? Because you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Every probe you sent, every transmission you intercepted, every bit of intelligence you gathered, it was all part of our plan. We showed you a primitive species just beginning to grasp quantum mechanics, while in reality, we were mapping your entire empire through quantum space. The final displays on the bridge flickered and died, leaving only Mason's transmission active. Through the viewport, Vex'thor could see more human ships appearing, their designs completely alien to anything in Centauri records. The humans hadn't just outmaneuvered them, they'd been playing an entirely different game from the start. Your empire's greatest weakness, Mason said softly, wasn't your technology or your tactics. It was your absolute certainty that you had no weaknesses at all. The bridge of the stellar dominance had fallen silent, except for the soft hum of failing systems and Mason's voice coming through the quantum channels. Vex'thor stood from his command chair, drawing himself up to his full height one last time. What happens now, Lieutenant Mason? Total subjugation of the Centauri Empire. Revenge for our attempted conquest. Mason's expression shifted to something unexpected: amusement mixed with what almost looked like pity. That's the Centauri mindset showing again, Commander. Always assuming everyone thinks like you do. The main view screen split into multiple feeds, showing scenes from across Centauri space. But instead of the expected images of destruction or military occupation, Vex'thor saw human ships positioning themselves in defensive formations, creating clear boundaries between Earth-controlled space and Centauri territory. We're not interested in conquest, Commander Vex'thor. We're interested in peace. Real peace, not the Centauri version that means submission to imperial rule. You expect me to believe, Vex'thor scoffed, that with this level of technological superiority, you're just going to let us continue to exist? Mason nodded to someone off-screen, and new data began flowing across the bridge displays. Scientific data, medical research, agricultural advances, but nothing military. What you're seeing is our first gift to your people. Solutions to the resource shortages that drove your empire to expansion in the first place. Sustainable energy technology, advanced terraforming systems, everything you need to prosper without conquest. Zarthos moved closer to one of the displays, his scientific mind already processing the implications. This is generations ahead of our current capabilities. The applications alone would revolutionize our entire society. That's the point, Mason said. Your empire expanded because you thought it was the only way to survive. We're showing you another path. A new figure appeared on the screen beside Mason, a human woman wearing what Vex'thor recognized as diplomatic insignia. Commander Vex'thor, I am Ambassador Chen from the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. In exactly 1 hour, we will be broadcasting a message to every world in the Centauri Empire, revealing the truth about today's events. Your people will learn that their military has been completely neutralized. But they will also learn of the opportunities we're offering. Vex'thor's head crest flattened in confusion. You're going to tell our own people that you could have destroyed us but chose not to. They'll never believe it. They will when they see the proof, Mason replied. When they see the technology we're sharing freely, when they realize that everything they thought they knew about humanity was wrong. The Centauri Empire stands at a crossroads, Commander. You can either adapt to a galaxy where you're not the supreme power, or... He left the sentence hanging, but the implication was clear. Around the bridge, Vex'thor could see the fight draining from his crew as the full reality of their situation sank in. Your trap wasn't just about stopping our invasion, was it? He asked slowly. This whole operation, letting us think we were in control, documenting our intentions, it was all to justify this moment. Now you're understanding, Mason nodded. We needed your people to see, beyond any doubt, that the old way of thinking had failed, that the Empire's belief in its own supremacy was an illusion. Through the viewport, Vex'thor watched as more human ships took up positions around Earth, their quantum drives operating on principles that made his best scientists' heads spin. Each vessel was a testament to how completely they had underestimated humanity. The choice is yours, Commander Ambassador Chen spoke again. In 1 hour, everything changes. Your empire can emerge stronger, more prosperous, but it will have to be as equals, not conquerors. Vex'thor looked around his bridge one last time, at the proud Centauri crew who had followed him into what they thought would be their greatest victory. Now, they stood witness to the end of everything they had believed about their place in the galaxy. You never needed the quantum manifold processor, did you? He asked Mason. That whole facility was just theater. Mason smiled. Sometimes the best trap is one where the target gets to watch themselves walk right into it. Consider it a learning experience. As if to punctuate his words, the Stellar Dominance's system suddenly came back online, but now displaying human protocols and interfaces. A gift, Mason explained. Your ship now has limited operational capability. Enough to return to Centauri space and witness the changes coming to your empire. Think of it as your first lesson in true technological superiority, the kind that doesn't need to be proven through force. Vex'thor sank back into his command chair, all 4 eyes fixed on the blue marble of Earth. From up here, it still looked deceptively primitive, peaceful, vulnerable. But now he knew better. Now he understood just how badly he and his entire empire had misread the situation. Set course for the imperial capital, he ordered quietly. It seems we have a new future to prepare for. As the stellar dominance turned away from Earth, Mason's final transmission came through. Welcome to the real galaxy, Commander. Try not to underestimate the next species you meet.